Mama Kwaba, Batusan Hotel. Where dear, Pelly Beshe, F.Fie. Yetia Kwai Kumasi, et you saw a charcoal, a quadrabin quine so. What home do you hear tea? You whatever a hot way, Dianai. Your normal, standard, deluxe standard, and our executive room, sir. The more Wi-Fi, new DSTV, Yankanja air conditioner, a room beer move. You were chef a kukudama. You were corner share beer, Ubenya. You were in Shemobia. The more daho, I see you are barefoot quine so. You were a good year more who to be a cassia. Et me funny pa opinion. You were saying wood true, you demand high. Phone was 0244 6544 58 0246 505327 and 0241 418645. The emails here, e4tusanhotel@gmail.com. Tucson Hotel, FFP.
Contract 56 ambulance and 200,000 P8. Sick nation. I know what's why we know vex enough. Oh. We know vex enough. We know vex enough. Oh. We know vex enough. They insult us so much. I wonder why we know vex. They have pushed our every button. Oh, I wonder what is next. Monkey they walk, baboon they chop, baboon they chop. Them no they stop, them no they stop. So them belly pop, but them still they chop. Them go they chop all the money. No development with the money. Only delivery, no laba. I swear, this time we don't go take them now. No gangalea, on bagawaya. I swear, this time they go sell our now. You say you be food soldier. Yes. 1 2 Radio Culture. What a thing! It's been a while, hasn't it, family? Waiting you get my dear. Yes, it has been a while. I have been away for a little bit, away from this particular program. Weekend Editorial. If you think about these things, your head goes scatter. Thank you very much for tuning in. You are live on Radio Culture, straight from Studio 1, Texas, USA. If you think about these things, your head goes scatter. Our Studio 2 is at Mampontin, Kumasi. For Ujadi. Na meka jodi ho asem so de na meka Tucson Hotel asem na trail. Tucson Hotel, the latest best kept secret in Kumasi right now. Tucson Hotel. Because Ghana Nansia, Meka Nansia, na wow ni, enye Nansia sa couple, you know, I enjoy too much biasa. But me no, at the time, I did not know about Tucson Hotel. What a shame. So I had a very hard time. I slept at this hotel with me person my body. Into my Ghana trip, no, 100% I'm too much, sir. Now, I was such a nice time. I'm a Ghana, and I'm coming to that Tucson Hotel. And so what did I make sure I say? Yes, it is at a Chark room Kumasi. I just saw, in fact. And right now, no man can secret with Joe. If you want to go to Kumasi as a tourist for business or whatever, the best thing to do is to stay in a serene environment outside of Kumasi and then badge into Kumasi to do business. Thank me later. And while you're doing that, now let me tell you, Tucson Hotel will be the place to stay. Go check it out. Check the food, check the rooms, check the environment, check their car service, check everything, and come back and say thank you to me later. Maybe you can pay for a drink over there for me or something. You don't know. Yes. Any which way, yes, welcome to Weekend Editorial. This week, let's go straight into it. I don't intend to stay too long today. All right, let's go straight to business. Here it is. So, what we are looking at today, I have a major topic and then I have one small thing that I may touch on if time permits. What I am looking at today for Weekend Editorial. No, it's everybody knows what's going on in Ghana right now, right? The constitutional crisis. It's not a secret at all. We are in a deep constitutional crisis over there, so in Ghana, right? And I'm not here to go into all that has happened already. Those have already happened. Everybody knows how we got here. What I'm going to do today is to play a piece of audio which I got from an interview that Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin granted TV3. Now, there are so many there's so many nuggets of wisdom, knowledge, and facts, right? Facts, and also points to keep in mind as we go into the election and beyond, as we strive to save our country from the tyranny that we find ourselves gripped in right now. So please bear with me. I am going to play the audio in a short while. After that, what I'm going to do is I'll play the whole thing. At first, I'll play the whole thing in its entirety, right? And then I'll come back, and as I always do, we'll break it down, you and I. We'll dissect it. We'll try and pick as many of the nuggets as possible that we can get from the audio piece. Here's Alban Bagbin. He was speaking to TV3.
For elections, yes. The 2024 elections, yes. Unlike the 1992 elections, or the 1996, or the 2000 elections. It's not also like the 2004, 2008, or 2012 elections. Why? Neither is it like the 2016 and 2020. This is a critical election that will determine whether we are truly committed to the cause of multi-party constitutional democracy. Clearly, this election is not just about the political parties. It's about the soul of our nation. Very, very important. And so to have very experienced political leaders, particularly His Excellency the President, who started politics at a very early age because of his parenthood, and who was an activist in the CPP party, grew up to be the president of Kwame Nkrumah Youth Forum, and after the 1966 election, joined the United Party, Progress Party, now NPP, to come out after all that experience, a legal luminary, to say such a thing. That is inciting people to violence. That even if we lost the election, we will not hand over. We will do all we can to hold on to power. That is unacceptable. I was really shocked to hear that, because His Excellency the President knows that the power he's holding is not his. It's for the people, particularly the voters. And the people voted and gave him that power. Once they vote you out, then he even is ending his 8 years period. At the 6th of January 2025, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has no such power. He knows that if he orders the CDS on the 7th of January 1990 to do anything, he will not do it. Really? He has no such power, so it's just an empty boast. Brutum fulmin.
You do not think that those comments were deep expressions of, I really wish that Bawumia would take over the reins of power from me?
You just said it. What prevented him from using that same language? But if you go and say categorically, I will not hand over power, as if the power is still in your hands,
If I hear what you're saying, you were disappointed when you heard that.
Very, in fact, I was shocked. Was I least expected His Excellency to say such a thing.
But in addition to that, you just brought to the fore again a statement made by Brian Champon, and he's repeated it. He is a member of parliament, a parliament you oversee. Have you done anything about it? How do you see that, first of all?
Brian Champon is scarcely in parliament. You see, that is another thing that we have to do. You see, political leadership is a different ball game. You just don't trust untried and untested hands straight from birth into leadership position. They have to be groomed. They have to be tutored. They have to be mentored. They have to grow to it. They must have hands-on experience. And so the system we are running is a system that is damaging the growth of this country.
Brian doesn't have the experience.
Where? In politics? Zero. He just elected as a member of parliament and is made a cabinet minister. He has no knowledge about the public sector, about governance, about politics, and he is now going to lead the whole sector. He has never handled such power before, and therefore they think that they are the alpha and the omega.
So you think that's what's influencing how he's behaving?
Not only him, a number of our people in politics now. You know, as they grow, they will learn that what they did was wrong. And they were really undermining their own authority and relevance.
We're talking about inflammatory comments and language ahead of this year's general election. And I know that you also heard the bit said by the former president, John Mahama, who is leading the opposition NDC, when he said, and he said it a number of times as well, that we will make sure that this election is not stolen, and this time we are not going to court. How did you understand this comment?
The first part deals with vigilance and ensuring that the right thing is done. That this time around, what happened in 2020, where brute force was used at some stations to take away the decision of the people, we will not allow that to happen again. Which meant that there's a loss of trust in the process and in the Electoral Commission. And so if the Electoral Commission is not going to take up the mantle together with the other stakeholders, particularly the security agencies led by the Ghana Police Service. And note, it is not Ghana Police Force. It is Ghana Police Service. And they are to deal with the maintenance of law and order. And you don't just maintain law and order by force. No, that is not it. But unfortunately, that is where we are. And they are the key institution to maintain law and order. The military has no business when we are doing elections to be present until law and order breaks down and they are called in.
So you want them to stay off?
Completely. I have stated it a number of times that we would not want to see our military moving around. They have to be at positions that they could be called to intervene when the need arises.
But already you know that the military have been deployed. I mean, officials have been deployed to border towns to enforce even this ban on exportation of the country's grains because of the drought in 7 regions of the country.
That is catastrophic and a complete exaggeration of the situation, just to create a platform to go in for a facility. And who knows how that facility will be applied. That is my honest view.
What do you mean by facility?
A credit facility in terms of money or in terms of food items. Is that kind of thing?
The NDC thinks it's an attempt to intimidate voters around that place.
You see, people really don't understand the situation we are in. The Ghanaian voter can no longer be intimidated. We saw what happened in Kenya. We saw what happened in Nigeria. Ghana is not immune to it. I was a young man in Legon during the regime of President General Aki Achampong. And that was the time they brought in the MOACs to support the police. They were blue in color. We faced the MOACs with our bodies, not even with sticks, empty hands. Some of us were killed, but we fought and managed to turn this country to democratic Ghana. The people are not afraid of the military. How many are they in this country? How many are the people? How many bullets do they have? How many will they kill? How many of them will survive? We've seen it before from country to country. So if there's any intention of using the military to threaten and intimidate the voter, they better think twice.
All right. That was Speaker Alban Bagbin. RadioKulcha. So as I said, what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to replay that bit and then I'm going to go through it with you so that we can all pick those nuggets that I referred to earlier. Okay. Now, hold on. Just give me one quick moment. Let me load up my background music real quick and we'll be on our way. That is it. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Okay. First of all, before I replay the audio bit, I want us to take note of something. Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, regardless of what anybody thinks about him, regardless of what I think about him, regardless of what I have said about Alban Bagbin on my show, the fact still remains that he is a very instrumental person in our democracy. He's the Speaker of Parliament. Now, that said, I want you to listen closely to what he says, to the type of language he uses, as measured as it is. Dig deep beyond the surface and find the deeper meaning in what this man is saying. All right? And like I said, I have my issues with Alban Bagbin. Alban, sir, this show is not a praise song for you. To be honest with you, I still want to hold you accountable for that invasion of Parliament that you have not seen to. You, as Speaker of Parliament, Parliament was invaded by soldiers. From what I gather, somebody's name was mentioned in that Parliament that you preside over. And I was expecting that you would bring the matter up and deal with it. For one or the other reason, Mr. Speaker has not brought up that issue, and I do have my issues with that, I won't lie. But that's not why I'm here today. I'm here to look at something completely different. What I'm saying is this: Alban Bagbin is the Speaker of Parliament. He normally would not speak like this. And when I say like this, I'm not saying that he spoke in any bad way. All I'm saying is that in a regular sense, I can't imagine the Speaker of Parliament in Kufuor's time, even though they were from the same party, so that may be the difference there. But regardless, I cannot see anybody speaking that way about the sitting president. And that goes to tell the kind of crisis we're in as a country. We are in more than a constitutional crisis. The constitutional crisis is the symptom of what we really are in. We are in a mess as a country. And we are at crossroads right now. The only thing that gives us hope is the upcoming election. The only thing that gives a lot of Ghanaians hope is the upcoming election. And that's why people don't want to play with it, okay? And we'll get some of what I'm saying in what Speaker Bagbin says. Let me not waste too much time because the audio bit is a bit lengthy. So why don't we go straight into it and start breaking it down? One more time, Speaker Alban Bagbin. I'll be, like I do always on my show, I'll be tagging along with you, okay? So get ready for the pauses. Let's go.
The 2024 elections is unlike the 1992 elections or the 1996 or the 2000 elections. It's not also like the 2004, 2008 or 2012 elections.
Why?
Neither is it like the 2016 and 2020. This is a critical election that will determine whether we are truly committed to the cause of multi-party constitutional democracy. Clearly, this election is not just about the political parties. It's about the soul of our nation. Very, very important. And so to have very experienced political leaders, particularly His Excellency the President, who started politics at a very early age because of his parenthood, and who was an activist in the CPP party, grew up to be the president of Kwame Nkrumah Youth Forum, and after the 66 election, joined the United Party, Progress Party, now NPP, to come out after all that experience, a legal luminary, to say such a thing. That is inciting.
Okay, so basically, Speaker Bagbin is talking about the comment that Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo made about not giving a power even, well, he didn't explicitly say that even if they lose, but it was also very much implied, right? More than implied, if you ask me, and reiterated even. But that's the point that Speaker Bagbin is making at this point. But I want us to kick back a little bit and pick something that he said. He says this election is for the soul of our nation. Now, for a Speaker of Parliament to say that, I know that these are politicians. I know that. And you know, the thing with Alban Bagbin is he doesn't even, since he became Speaker at least, he seems not to be too partisan at all. He has been very measured, if you ask me. Sometimes way too measured for the members of his own party. Honest truth, right? Listen to the pro-NDC media and see how they bash him sometimes about how he's having people get away with all this and that and whatnot and the next thing, right? But this same person is saying, say, the coming election is like none other. And it's an election for the soul of our nation. That's a deep statement. I just wanted you to mark that. Now let's go on and listen to what he was saying about Akufo-Addo's pronouncement and other things.
People to violence. That even if we lost the election, we will not hand over. We will do all we can to hold on to power. That is unacceptable. I was really shocked to hear that because His Excellency the President knows that the power he's holding is not his. It's for the people, particularly the voters. And the people voted and gave him that power. Once they vote you out, then he even is ending his 8 years period. At the 6th of January 2025, His Excellency Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo has no such power. He knows.
Let's all pray to God that that is the situation, though, Mr. Speaker. Let's all pray to God that that is the case. Because right now, as we speak, anything can happen. And I fear the very worst. But I'm not going to take my mouth to come But I think the very best thing that can happen to Ghana is that on the 5th, or the whatever January date you mentioned, Mr. Speaker, that day, Ghana will be so calm, just like it's been all along. The day that Kufuor won the election from Jerry Rawlings, Ghana was still. I remember that very well. Mekaisa Danipa was in Kumasi. Ghana was still. After so many years of Jerry Rawlings' rule, right? He handed over. Ghana was calm. And then Kufuor did his thing. When Kufuor was in power, all that money that they spent on that election that was supposed to have brought in their next, you can't say Akufo, I don't know. And then they lost. But Ghana was calm. Kufuor handed over. Ghana was very calm. Right? And then after Kufuor happened, Atta Mills, God rest his soul, he didn't finish his term. JDM, John Mahama finished for him. After John Mahama finished, you kind of saying, he did his own one term, but he handed over. Ghana was calm. And to Mr. Speaker, I pray to God that on that day now, Ghana will be calm. And that Akufo-Addo will hand over without any other ceremony except the one that is mandated by the state for him to hand over the power to whoever wins the elections. That's all we want. That's all we want. So, Mr. Speaker, Moni Kasa, Kosukasa, but I'm just saying, say, let's not be too. This guy may not make it smooth. So let's not sit down and think, say, naturally on that day, this let's get prepared, is what I'm saying. Long story short, let's be prepared for a situation where we'll be confronted with an Akufo-Addo who does not want to hand over power. I pray to God that doesn't happen. Let's go on.
That if he orders the CDS on the 7th of January 1990 to do anything, he will not do it.
That could well be the case. But do we know what these people are doing? Do we know what kind of machinery they have in place for an extended state capture? I'm just saying. Do we know that? We may not know that. Let's be prepared, is what I'm saying.
He has no such power, so it's just an empty boast. Brutum fulme.
I've learned something today. Brutum fulme.
Culture.
Brutum fulmen. Let's pull up the meaning of brutum fulmen. I learned something today and I want to share it. Brutum fulmen. Okay, so brutum fulmen, right, it's a Latin phrase for senseless thunderbolt. Senseless thunderbolt. If in the case of Akufo-Addo, because he's president, we want to tone it down small for him, it could also be called a harmless thunderbolt. But to be honest with you, I prefer the senseless thunderbolt. I think that the senseless, meaning more than the harmless thunderbolt, Basically, Abambabi says on that, what Akufo-Addo is saying, is brutum fulmen, because on the day after he is supposed to hand over, he cannot give an order to the CDS, he cannot give an order to any of the state, you're kind of saying, establishment, the heads or the functionaries. He cannot do that, right? So, but I'm saying, so let's pray that's the case.
You do not think that those comments were deep expressions of, I really wish that Baumia would take over the reins of power from me?
You just said it. What prevented him from using that same language?
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I had no million shada 100%, even though me know we are doing. Okay, because the thing is that Why does he have to use your words to say what he has to say? He doesn't have to. Okay, into a holiday, Meji Akufo-Addo Kakra, he did not have to use the words that you want him to use to say what he wants to say. He's a free man. He can use his own words. However, that said, what he said no boils down to brutum fulmen. And after the brutum fulmen has been spat out, no, I agree with you, Speaker, because he could have said what he said in another way. But that's not what he meant. He was throwing red meat to his base. His lame ass base. He was throwing some red meat out to them. And I don't even think any of those people picked up that red meat. Because if you see the anger, even within the NPP itself, if you see the fact that Alan Chamatin has broken away from the party, if you see the fact that there's just general apathy within the party now, I don't think people picked up that red meat now. So Brian Achampong came back to reiterate that thing again. Since those things were said, both by the president and by Brian Achampong, the only reaction I've seen to it is Ghanaians kicking back at these people. Brutum, full men.
Culture.
Yentuaso.
But if you go and say categorically, I will not hand over power, as if the power is still in your hands.
If I hear what you're saying, you were disappointed when you heard that.
Very, in fact, I was shocked. Was at least expected His Excellency to say such a thing.
But in addition to that, you just brought to the fore again a statement made by Brian Achampong, and he's repeated it. He's a member of parliament, a parliament you oversee. Have you done anything about it? How do you see that, first of all?
Great question. Great question. What have you, Mr. Speaker, done about that? But he answers that though. He answers that question. So I won't even dwell too much on that. But I'm saying, this is a very good question. But mark this question because I'm going to tie it to another question towards the end of this audio clip. All right? Let's go on.
Brian Achampong is scarcely in parliament. You see, that is another thing that we have to do. You see, political leadership is a different ball game.
I don't know if you heard what he said or it was interrupted by the jingle. But if you didn't, let me reiterate it. He said Brian Achampong is hardly in parliament. Kwewu abetifi for them to abamano no mate. They don't care because Brian Achampong kukru hotel kakraka abesi hono, so that means more to them than anything else. So who cares if Brian Achampong is not in parliament? You say parliament on bampo. That's what vote here man so on making law say man. That's the only parliament on ma. What are you doing? But people really don't care. They don't care because Brian Achampong. Meka Brian Achampong Simbia show. There was this show, reggae show that was held at his hotel, and some incident that happened over there. Because of some people involved that I don't know if they want their names out there, I'll hold off for now and try and get some clearance. If they don't mind their names being mentioned, track with me. I'll come back another time and with that story, with some nonsense this guy was doing over there at his hotel there. Right, but see, Brian Achampong, you're kind of saying, Omampo.
You just don't trust untried and untested hands straight from birth into leadership position. They have to be groomed. They have to be tutored. They have to be mentored. They have to grow to it. They must have hands-on experience. And so the system we are running is a system that is damaging the growth of this country.
Brian doesn't have the experience.
Where?
You heard her, my sister. I mean, you heard him. He said Brian Achampong. Well, why am I even worrying myself?
In politics?
Was it where? In politics?
He just elected as a member of parliament and is made a cabinet minister.
Because of what? Just check this scenario though. Brian Achampong, no political experience, no public service, apart from maybe if you count that as public service in that sense. Of course, it is public service in a sense, even though it wasn't rendered to Ghana. So then again, right? But he says he was in the military in the US. No political experience. Gets voted into parliament. Now Akufo-Addo takes him and makes him a cabinet minister and puts him in such a sensitive ministry at the time. And even today, Minister of Agriculture, and he has no experience. Listen, I've seen people who have no experience, but they have a lot of common sense and patriotism. So they function. That, I don't think, is what we are seeing with Brian Achampong. Yentuaso.
He has no knowledge about the public sector, about governance, about politics, and he is now going to lead the whole sector. He has never handled such power before, and therefore they think that they are the alpha and the omega.
So you're saying that's influencing how he's behaving?
Not
Mr. Bagbin, what's it you can saying Brian Achampong aya omba parliament, but at least the one day Bipenan Kobeba Hono, I wish you would take the opportunity to just talk to him. Because something we are working in, we know we are doing power, but is he aware? Well, I know this is a big question because this guy, I believe, thinks he's such a fabulous guy, minister, doing all these things, and maybe you didn't want to be, or whatever partisan getting this or but if so, then why are you speaking now? You're still speaking now, so might as well have, right? Yentuaso.
only him, a number of our people in politics now. As they grow, they will learn that what they did were wrong. And they were really undermining their own authority and relevance.
We are talking about inflammatory comments and language ahead of this year's general election. And I know that you also heard the bit said by the former president, John Mahama, who is leading the opposition NDC, when he said, and he said it a number of times as well, that we will make sure that this election is not stolen, and this time we are not going to court. How did you understand this comment?
Before Speaker comes in, my sister, let me offer an answer of sorts. Okay. First of all, the media, let's stop the nonsense equalization. Let's stop that. I understand the fact that as a presenter, as a media person, as a broadcaster, whatever, journalist, you want to be balanced, you want to be fair and all of that. But how on God's green earth do you equate what Akufo-Addo said to what John Mahama said that you just quoted? We are not going to court this time. How is that inflammatory? And you preceded that by actually saying that, you made reference to inflammatory language before you. What is that? What is that? I understand you. As a journalist, I feel your pain. I know that sometimes you don't want to be seen as, you want to be balanced. You want the other side to feel like, okay, and all of that. But if you're going to equalize, at least find equal scales. Akufo-Addo says some nonsense about, I will not hand over. And then John Mahama says, I'm not going to court anymore because I went to court the first time. You know what happened, my sister. You were in this country. Let's stop burying our heads in the sand. We all know what Jen Mensah did. We all know what the Supreme Court did. We all know what we went through to get our president Akufo-Addo for the second term. And we all know that all things being equal, the very least that should have happened was a runoff in the 2020 election. John Mahama was, you can't say, hand-tied and yem blows. That's what happened. The Supreme Court aided that to happen. How do we have an election that has 4 different results? Let's stop doing that. Now you can't say, man, that's your mama say, okay, because of that, I am not going. When Azuma Nelson said, say, I'm bringing my own referee to the ring, was he threatening anybody? No, he was saying, say, I'm going to win so emphatically that there will be no need for no referee to even tell anybody, because you know what? It doesn't work. If John Mahama has